Hello, people, and welcome back to the Outbound podcast. It's been some time, like 3-4 weeks since we last put an episode, but due to unforeseen circumstances, it is what it is at this point. Like inconsistency happened, but we are back to being consistent, and we are back with a new episode of the podcast with the dynamic duo of me and Sam. How we doing?
I'm good, man. Kobe and Shaq. I'm happy to be Kobe. That's
Yeah,
my
yeah,
life. So you can be Shaq.
yeah.
I can be Kobe. But I'm good, man. Like I said, happy to be back on. I ain't been on for a while because my Wi-Fi has been mad. So I ain't been hijacked no more. You can see it's clear, HD ready. So I'm happy
Yeah.
to have these conversations, man. It's been a minute. So
Yeah.
whenever we get into it, man.
So obviously, let's just get straight into it. Because it's been recorded on Tuesday. So yesterday we had the London derby again, which the Chelsea versus Tottenham, which is a bit of a weird rivalry, just because of like Tottenham don't win enough to trouble us, but it's I don't know. There just seems to be a lot of hostility around that rivalry, even more than Arsenal versus Chelsea. I think obviously Arsenal versus Chelsea within fans will always be more hostile, but I think in terms of when the games are played, Chelsea versus Tottenham always seem to go to another level. Like even our sons, like we hate Tottenham, Chelsea, and all that stuff in it. But obviously, yesterday was one of the weirdest games that I've ever watched, and it was so weird that it became so funny. Like obviously, I'm gonna give my thoughts on the game in it, but I'm just gonna ask you, what did you think of that game overall?
You know what? So what's so funny? I wasn't able to watch the game live because I was busy, but I watched the highlights. And then from what I saw from the highlights I watched, and then obviously on Twitter, it was so strange because you had so many intricacies within that game. You had the offsides, you had the VAR check-ins, you had goals that are disallowed. But then in that same goal that was disallowed, they gave a penalty, someone got sent off. So it was just so hectic and like manic, yeah. It was crazy. And like I was coming home and I heard like some fans talking and I heard they were disgruntled. I was like, oh snap, the game's on. And for some reason, I just assumed they were Chelsea fans like complaining, like they lost, whatever. And I just went on to Bleacher Report and I saw it was 4-1. I saw Tottenham had 2 sending offs. I said, what the hell was this? And then like when I checked on Twitter what people were saying, I was so spun because everyone was like, yeah, Jackson Sanchez, the smelliest hat-trick I've ever seen. I'm like, how can you get mad at someone that scored a hat-trick, yeah? But everyone's saying it was trash, and I didn't get it. Then when I saw it, when I like saw the highlights and obviously heard people talking about it, they said he played so poor that he missed so many chances. He could have had like 8 goals or 5 goals, yeah? And the hat-trick was like, it was at the end of the game where, okay, cool, Tottenham was playing that high line and he was able to capitalize and he scored 2 late goals. I saw it was like 90, 93, then like 97. So it was crazy. And then I was watching Sky Sports this morning, people saying like, this is probably one of the most entertaining games that they've seen. So the whole result and how Tottenham have been playing, I didn't expect this, but I'd said to my other boys like in other chats, I said, don't put it past Chelsea to win, because these type of games where Chelsea are the underdog and they can sit back and counter, that's where they're most likely to perform. And in games where they have to be the attacker and the aggressor, i.e. against Brentford, you're not going to see the best of them. So it was a bit of a strange game, but for me, I'm happy because Arsenal lost on the weekend. They're crying. We're going to speak about that. Tottenham lost their unbeaten run, and then we won. We spanked Bournemouth, and we're top of the table, 3 points clear of Arsenal and them, man, and a point clear of Tottenham. So for me, it was a great weekend, but that game was just mad entertaining.
No, so obviously, as you say, you did watch the game, but you also seen it from a neutral point of view, yeah. Now, the sequence of events of everything that happened that game just became weirder and weirder because, so first of all, we got to start with Christian Romero, whereas he got sent off eventually, but then it was a situation for me where he should have been sent off before that even happened, and then what's the left back, Udogie, he also got sent off eventually, but then for me he should have been sent off before that anyway. So the 2 players that got sent off for Tottenham, in my eyes, should have been sent off before. Now, obviously, people talk about the pen decision because they're saying he touched the ball first and stuff like that. And I kind of get where they come from in terms of the red card situation, because I think a lot of people say it's a clear red card, and especially in football when you talk about dangerous and high and stuff. But the way I just saw it was like he won the ball, and sometimes it's hard to control when you're off balance anyways. But then even when stuff are a mistake, then you still have to give that as a where it is dangerous foul. So I was happy to see him go because like he's just a thug, anyways. Like
he's reckless, man.
he just like he gets praised for his recklessness.
He does kind of put Sergio Ramos to like shame. You think like Sergio Ramos was elite butcher, but this guy, they said like in 75 games he's had the most sending offs, which is 4. Like it's just crazy.
So then obviously Caicedo scored the score in it, but then that got disallowed because of obviously they said Jackson was standing offside, and we're gonna get to Jackson a bit, and then he comes back, and then obviously Cole Palmer he goes on to score and he equalizes, and what Chelsea reminded me of yesterday, was a Robert that did not have the upgrade package, because that was some of the lowest IQ football that I've ever watched in my whole life. Like, it came to a point it became so frustrating now because we won 4-1, and instead of me celebrating, I was laughing in disbelief of what I've just watched.
Because a lot of Chelsea fans are like that.
Second?
I said a lot of Chelsea fans I spoke to were like that.
First of all, you talk about the chances that not just Nicholas Jackson that we missed in general, but everyone's praising Ange. Well, mainstream media's praising Ange for all the highline stuff he was playing.
Yeah.
First of all, Ange was even playing this highline when he had 11 guys up. So why he decided to do it with 9 men? He was like, I know when the manager purposely loses the game. Like, I'm not gonna say it was tactically inept from Ange, because technically inept is when you try something and it doesn't pay off and you're thinking, why are you trying this? I know why Ange was doing that, because he purposely wanted to lose that game. It reminded me of like Conte versus Man City.
Self-sabotage,
Yeah, in 2018. That was definitely self-sabotage, because if you're not playing that high line with 11 men, why would you play it? So like his players are literally standing the halfway line, and then Chelsea on the other hand, you think it's one of the easiest things to break down. Just hold the line, because you've got Sterling, who's quick, and you've got Nicholas Jackson, who has some pace. Like, look at him. He had one sprint with Van der Mickey, and Mickey pulled up. I said,
Van der Mickey.
He said that I've had enough of this, innit? Now, Nicholas Jackson, it was one of those. Now, I've said it before, especially like his first 5 games of the seasons, I knew this was the trajectory that Nicholas Jackson was heading towards, because Nicholas Jackson, especially beginning of the season, did so many good stuff for us. But his end products just wasn't there in terms of the hold-up play, spinning the defender and all that kind of stuff. But I said, especially with Chelsea, that we've had so many first strikers and we're tired of it. Once a striker starts to not score goals, people are going to stop caring about all the good things that you're doing. And when they start getting onto your confidence, is going to start going like this. Because I remember when Werner first joined us, his performance against Brighton, Liverpool, like especially that Liverpool game, even though we end up losing because Kepa's dumb, Werner was dribbling past. Like, he had ISO package, dribble, size up.
Doing his thing for a bit.
Yeah, and then, but when you're not scoring and people are like, fucking hell, Werner again, it starts to come down. You start second guessing yourself, and that was the trajectory Jackson is heading towards. But then everything just switched when obviously he scores that breakaway goal. Where Sterling puts the cross and we score.
Left foot.
And I was thinking, like, you know what, fucking finally, because like it's about damn time. Like, these men have been up to, and one crazy thing as well, is even when even before the first red card happened, after Spurs scored when the first red card happened, Chelsea were dominating, like on like one of our dominant performance. So how you dominate against 11 guys, and then when the main thing comes across, you guys don't know what to do anymore. So that Nicholas Jackson comes here, and then when he scores the second goal, I started laughing because I was thinking, no way a striker can put this poor performance, and it comes over with a brace here. When he goes on and he scores the hat trick here, I tell you, no exaggeration, I literally cried tears of laughter, because it was like, what? Like, how's he done this? And then he does the Sue celebration,
That was funny. I saw that.
For someone that hated Nicholas Jackson for 70 minutes of that game, I love him just from the simple fact, not that he played well, but how shameless he was. And I love shamelessness in it.
Bro, that's what I saw everyone saying. Like, the guy's so shameless. Like, he scored a hat trick and he did a suit. But I'm like, let me deep it. He scored a hat trick, but the fans are still mad. Like, make it make sense. And it's like what you said, though, isn't it? When fans have that expectation at first, like, they give you a little blind, and after that, you sink down, and anything you do can never be good, because not in a bad way. Like, I see the way Chelsea fans get onto Cole Palmer, and you would think Cole Palmer is a superstar, and it just shows you, not in a bad way, the level where Chelsea are, because Cole Palmer, the level that Chelsea want to be at is the same level as Man City. but Cole Palmer couldn't get into our and Man City team. But he's come to Chelsea, and Poch has made him the talisman. But we've seen the Chelsea fans just gravitate to him so much that he's got so much in the bank that he could play shit for 10 games. Chelsea fans will still love him. But like you said,
He's been playing really well. That's he's one player I would say he's been playing really well, Cole Palmer.
But that's what I'm trying to say. Because he's got that in the bank here, even if he plays bad for 10 games, Chelsea fans won't get at him. But whereas because Jackson started off missing chances, not really playing well, he could score a hat-trick, and the whole Chelsea fans are not even be like, oh, he scored a hat-trick, let's celebrate him. They're saying it was a smelly hat-trick, he's shameless.
Worst hat-trick funny as well. You see that hat-trick he scored, and has done wonders for his goal to game and goal to minutes ratio.
Bro,
because now he has a goal, because he's played 10 games and he scored 5 goals.
5 goals.
Exactly. More goals than Julian Alvarez, Saka, Jesus, all these players you mentioned. I even checked. He's now top 10 in Prem goal scorers this season. He's tied 4th for most goals. Like,
there you go.
It's everything that could have gone right for Jackson yesterday went right in terms of the goal scoring thing. And he's so doing like this points ahead. And I was like, you know what?
Let him live, man.
I didn't celebrate the win, but I just laughed because normally a game against your rivals, you're like, yes, what a win and all that kind of stuff. But I was just in massive disbelief on how low, like these are professional footballers playing the highest level, and how low the IQ could have been yesterday. They even Poch are getting mad when, like, there was times I was seeing players standing offside and complaining why they're not getting the ball. And I'm thinking, brother, because you're offside. Like,
but I hear that. But even some of the football, like, do you blame Poch though? Because like I said, when it's the big teams, he finds a way to step up where it's like he's got a small team mentality like he's at Southampton. But then when he has to play the team where he has to be in the front foot, we don't see that same aggressiveness from Chelsea. It's very passive where it's like, we'll pass around, we won't do nothing. But when you're playing a bigger team, you guys, okay, cool. You figure this is what we need to do. We need to be compact and then break. Like, do we have to look at Poch as well in terms of how he's thinking and taking these games when they're coming towards him?
I'll say yes from the standpoint of like tactically, and I'm not even going to use the Tottenham game as an example. Actually, I can use the Tottenham game just because, as I said, from the 6th to the 33rd minute, I thought Chelsea were outstanding. So I'll say yes in terms of that. One thing I would defend Poch with is yesterday made me, and I wouldn't have said this until yesterday, is I think I've realized what our biggest problem with Chelsea, which I saw some signs of it, but it's confirmed for me, our players are just not football smart. And that's just something you can't coach.
It's true.
Like, we've got players with talent and stuff like that, but I feel like when you're playing against low block, you just need players that are intelligent. I think Cole Palmer is intelligent. I think Sterling, I think he's been good this season, but yesterday he was just dumb. There was a time I saw Mudryk, who was wide open by himself on the left-hand side, and this guy dribbled into 3 guys when he... Like, you know that sometimes you have the ball and there's some players that just close you down. And even though you can still pass it, but, you know, in those situations, you think to yourself, you know what? They tactically got into that position, into the situation. Yesterday, he was running away from space into guys. And I'm thinking, like, against low blocks, you just need a bit more, like, even though there's tactics, because managers are not just going to come and let you win. I think with the counter-attack is stuff whereas in you work a bit more on the fly. I feel like with the low blocks thing is you need to be very, very smart. You know what? I never said it yesterday. He was like, I don't get why Chelsea just keep throwing over the top. When you start passing side to side, you move teams around, you move them, you now draw players out. That's when the space starts popping up. Obviously, I'm not a professional footballer, so it's easier said than done. But I'm just saying, with low blocks, those are the kind of things you need to do. And yesterday, it's just funny. It's just funny. Like, I was lost for words. I just had tears of laughter yesterday because of like I couldn't, and I know that almost killed me. Like when Dyer scored the offside goal. I was this close to switching on my TV, and if that he scored, I wouldn't watch another Chelsea game for the rest of the month.
Why?
Like, we going to draw 2-2 against a 9-man Tottenham. I'm not watching another Chelsea. I'm not going to exaggerate and say for the rest of the season because I know I love Chelsea and football too much. But for the rest of November, I would have just hung it up. Yeah,
and I think it's what it is because obviously, even now, like Poch is having time to work with him on the training ground. But in terms of a style of play, I still don't see that style of play that they're trying to implement. So even when you're against down to 9 men, like for example, say that was City 9 men, not City, we would have opened them up. It would have been done before that because there's just ways to break them down in it. Like you said, you shift them. Yes, we could have different patterns of playing particular areas of the park, and we'll open them up. But having Chelsea, like, if you really look at it, if it wasn't for that high line that they played, you could have ended up drawing that game against 9 men and would have been like, what are we doing here? We spent all this money, got all this so-called talent, and we couldn't beat a 9-man team. Do you know what I mean? With Dyer in defense, we had one. They were basically playing. What was they playing? 8-0-1, bro.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say there is no style of play. I do think Chelsea have played a lot of good football this season, and I feel like there's been numbers of games that I've come away thinking that we should have won and we didn't. And
but when you say
like
good football, because when I say good football, I mean like I've seen games where Chelsea have just got the ball and they've had possession for the sake of having possession. Like it's just like so.
You haven't been perfect.
Like, you see, like for example, City, Arsenal, Liverpool, Tottenham. They have a style of plays possession, but it's like there's different intricacies.
I think we played better than Arsenal this season. Like you talk about the football in terms of football in the eye.
I don't know. When I've watched Chelsea games, because I've watched a lot of Chelsea games because I did believe in them based on the signings. And the games that I've seen, not all of them have played great. And even the games where they've lost and they've been smelly, I've started to look at Poch a certain type of way because Poch had that cachet of he's this type of coach. But we saw certain stuff they did at Tottenham. It was decent football, but it was a lot of underdog mentality. Like, let's sit back, we'll get you on the counter against the big teams. Kane will drop deep as a number 10, long ball through or ball through to Son, and he's onto it. So with even Poch, you don't really know his style of play. He went to PSG. What was his style of play? It was okay, we've just got stars and we'll leave it to them. So
I think with Poch, I think my biggest issue is I think the honesty. I think there's some people that are just too honest to a fault when you were talking about the whole Tottenham, man. Like, I don't really care in it, but I'm just saying. And two, I think I don't know how he speaks in the dressing room because obviously we need to also understand that managers can say one thing in the media and they say another thing to plays in the dressing room. But my only thing is when the season started, you're talking about no excuses, must compete and all this kind of stuff. There's no such thing as a process if you're not winning and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And then we've got to this point of the season and it's not like, and things take time and all that kind of stuff. Like, if you just said that from the beginning of the season, that would become, but when you start looking like mentality monster at the beginning of the season and everyone's like, this is what we like to hear. And then 10 games into the season is now like, I don't know, man. Like we're putting a new team together, that kind of stuff. I think it just makes people lose a bit of faith in you. But obviously, stayed in North London, Arsenal, because
I'm here for it, man. I'm here for it.
So obviously, they dropped points against Newcastle over the weekend as well, and I've said it before. Well, not obviously on the platform, but to like some of my Arsenal friends, I said, is it possible for Arsenal to ever have a defeat where they don't blame the refs for it? Because it seems like every single game, they're like, whenever they lose a game, they start nitpicking this ref decision and that ref decision, blah, blah. And obviously, we recorded an episode in which I forgot to press record where I said that, where we highlighted all the issues with VAR and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I don't think Saturday, the one against Newcastle, was one of them because everybody was talking about how the goal play was not conclusive and all that kind of stuff, which fair enough. So that's 50-50. You've got the push on Gabriel, which
that wasn't a foul.
I think he was looking for that anyways.
Exactly. He did the little back thing.
And that wasn't offside for me. And what was interesting was normally when you go into a press conference and they were asking Arteta to pinpoint which decision he disagreed with, and he couldn't tell them. He was just talking about the disgrace this and the disgrace that, blah blah. And I was thinking the real disgrace was Arsenal's performance over the weekend because now I do think I'm going to play devil advocate on myself a bit here, but I think on one end of the spectrum you can argue that I think maybe Arsenal bring that proportion because at the end of the fact they are still only 3 points behind Man City on the table, and I think obviously you need to be near perfection to beat City, but I think it's one of the things that keeps me going as a Chelsea fan knowing
Yeah.
that Pep is still the one in charge. Because it's a thing that even if Chelsea were good, we might not even win that league anyways because Pep keeps hugging it. Like, let's just buy that time and become good when that guy finally decides to get out.
Yeah.
God, I'm praying it's within the next 2 years because I'm sick of him. But you can look at it from that side, but you can also look from the other side in terms of a lot of the players just haven't played well enough this season. Like, they've been able to grind out results, which is what you can argue champions do. But you do that maybe 20% of the season. They've done it a lot of times this year. And I know a lot of people want to talk about Havertz and talk about, oh, Havertz has been this as a signing and all that kind of stuff. My thing is, I'm not going to blame Havertz when Saka, I think, has been very, very average this year. Declan Rice has been good, but I don't think he's been good as he's been made out to be.
100%, I agree with that, bro.
Martinelli, I don't think has been
poor. He's proven this season so far. It's been proven.
Yeah, and then as much as people want to blame Nketiah, I've said that for me, the reason I can't even look at Nketiah is because, first of all, Nketiah is a number 2 striker for a reason.
Yeah.
He was never good enough to be the main striker. But then when Jesus, who's only giving you 1 goal this season and he's missed 8 to 10 league goals a season and is constantly injured, I'm looking at him before I look at Jesus, because if Jesus is obviously, I'm not going to bash a player for fitness, but even when Jesus is fit, it doesn't give you enough goals anyways, which is why Nketiah keeps getting this looking. If, for example, until KDB got injured and you had Julian Alvarez, even though Julian Alvarez is better than Nketiah and he could probably be a starter, I don't know in the Premier League winning team, but he could probably be a starter. You know, Harden, because of the job Harden was doing, Julian Alvarez will never get the chance to be the main man over there.
Of course.
I think Nketiah is getting that chance because of the crap Jesus is doing. So when you look at all these kind of factors, Odegaard, I don't think has played up to the standard he did last season as well. When all your star players, and I've named about 4 of them, are not performing to the heights that they're not performing to, even if Havertz starts bringing up the Bayern Leverkusen Havertz or
it's not going to make a difference.
I don't think it will make that much of a difference anyway. So yeah, I'll just let you give your take on the whole Arsenal situation, and because for me, I think they're just making excuses.
For sure. I think there is a bit of excuse, and I think with Arsenal, what happened is last season kind of clouded their judgment. So they look at like last season, we could have won the league if we didn't slip up to West Ham, Liverpool, and Southampton. So they go based off on that. And then this season, like you said, they haven't played well, but in games they've dug out and got the victory. And then what happened is that victory against Man City kind of gassed them. Even though they played well, for them it's like we got over that hurdle of where we was getting beaten up by the bigger brother
12 times in a row.
Exactly. So for them, they're like, cool, we've made it. And then what pissed them off is that they lost to Newcastle, a team that they didn't think they was going to lose to. They thought they was going to go into St. James's Park and watch them and say, cool. And the reason why I'm happy with Arsenal losing, not because I thought they was going to do it. A lot of their fans were just talking so much rubbish about they're going to go unbeaten, we beat City. And I was like, bro, don't think because you beat City, that's where you win the league. No, you only play City twice. There's other teams that are going to compete against you and you're going to struggle. And I think a lot of these players have bought into the hype and they've just thought, okay, cool. All we need to do is show up and we're going to win. It doesn't work like that. As you said, Saka's been poor. Martinelli's been poor. Odegaard's been poor. And then Arteta, he's got this complex now where he thinks he's the smartest guy in the room. And he's doing all these different changes, playing Partey right back and then coming into midfield, doing this. And then you saw Zinchenko talking to Ferdinand like he was some superstar in terms of what he's doing. And since then, he doesn't play and he's looked poor. So I just think a lot of Arsenal players and the manager got caught up in the hype in terms of what they did last season, beating Man City. And instead of them to be humble and say, look, let's just take each game as it comes, they just expecting themselves to walk into games and win. And it just shows you, like, as you said, to beat Pep here, you have to be mad consistent and you have to be able just to, put in win after win after win. And not to digress from this, we saw what City did. Yes, it was against Bournemouth, but we just demolished them. And we saw players that you might not have thought of, okay, cool, you see what Doku's doing. You're thinking, damn, there's certain games where Pep can just pick players based on who he's playing. Like, you might be playing at Liverpool. Do you know what? I'm not playing Grealish. I'm playing Doku. That's going to pepper him. But then you might play another game where you need a controller. You can play Grealish and stuff like that. So I just think, not Chelsea, I just feel that Arsenal need to just take the L and move on. Because when the same situation happened with Liverpool, what did Arteta say? oh, we can't blame the referees. They're human. We got
Yeah,
VAR. We got to just live with the decision. But then when it's him, it's a disgrace. It's
yeah.
unbelievable. It's etc. etc. But then he never came out and said, you know what? Cool, I'm complaining, but Kai Havertz should have been sent off, but he didn't get sent off because you can argue that Kai Havertz's tackle was worse than Romero's tackle yesterday, and Romero got sent off, and
Mm.
Kai Havertz got a
I
yellow
don't
card.
think I had this one was a red because I feel like the studs weren't that high, and besides he tackled him. But I get where you're coming from in terms of like recklessness.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas
Yeah,
I don't see Romero as being that reckless or that bad. He went in, but it's not like you see and you think, oh my days, it's a red. When you see Kai Havertz, you see this guy sliding. He's a bit off the ground. That's a leg breaker. Do you see what I'm saying? So I just think Arsenal should take the L, go back to the drawing board, and
yeah.
figure out what they need to do. But again, if you've got a team of young players and then you don't have the relevant backups to replace them, that's where you're always going to struggle. Because you take out Saka, who do you bring in for Saka? You take out Martinelli, who do you put in replacing Martinelli? You take out
And I
Odegaard.
think this is one of my other big criticism of Arteta as well, because you mentioned it as well, is I don't feel Arteta, and obviously there's always going to be levels that drops when you take off some of your best players, but then it's one of the reasons I think he hasn't won any cup competitions ever since he robbed us of the FA Cup back in 2020, I think it was, because
Yeah.
of when you change your team, he's not able to get the same level of like. Obviously, you won't get the same level of performance because the players aren't there. But I
There should
still
be a
feel like
standard set, though.
the standards should kind of be the same in terms
Same,
of
yeah.
like if you are playing out the back, you should still be able to be still doing the same play out the back. And it's whenever he tweaks a bit, because I mean, is the gap between Martinelli and Trossard that big? I don't know. I think
exactly.
I know that kind of stuff. When you start making these tweaks, I mean, I'm talking about seeing people talk about he signed Jorginho when you're trying to win the league and all that kind of stuff. If Jorginho is your third choice CDM, that is quality. If you ask me,
that's what I say. You're right.
Yeah.
You got
like
you got Partey, then you got him. That's great.
Like, yeah. So these excuses always hiding behind the rest whenever you drop points and all that kind of stuff. I think it's just BS to me, and I think Arsenal needs to start looking more within their performances because there's only so many times they can get away with putting in these kind of performances. Like you can do it to finish top four, but you can't do it to win the league, especially in the league that Pep is doing is possible. So, so yeah,
definitely.
We're interested to see. I think they're playing today or tomorrow in the Champions League or whatever. So it's going to be interesting to see how they progress. Obviously, moving on to basketball, it's happened for some time now, but because of, as I said, unforeseen circumstances, we didn't get a chance to talk of it properly. James Harden is now a Clipper after forcing himself out of another situation
again.
And obviously, again, and I saw Brian Windhorst said that you know what, it should be James Harden post career to teach players how to trade to where they want to go because it seems like he just
he's got a master's degree in that.
Yeah, it seems like he always gets where he wants to go, but it's interesting because obviously people don't really talk about big threes and NBAs and super teams, and I don't know if I could really call the Clipper a big three like that just because of where Westbrook is in his career. But James Harden was still an all-star player last year, and if Westbrook is your fourth best player, I think that is on paper you would think that's great.
Yeah.
But how do you think the fit comes together for the Clippers?
Do you know what? I think if you get James Harden that was able to play with the big three in Brooklyn, where he was very pass first and it was more about getting assists and not really contributing like 30 or 40 points, then I think it could work. But then again, I just think defensively, I don't know how that works because Kawhi is not that guy that he was in Toronto or even when he was in San Antonio, where he was great defensively. And nowadays, you see the superstars, nobody really wants to defend. Everyone wants to get points. And then when you've got Russ, you've got Kawhi, you've got James Harden, and you've probably only got PG that wants to defend. But if he's seen his bandmates and his running mates not defending, why is he going to defend? I just don't think it's going to work out, man. And I just think in terms of size, when you're playing like the Denver Nuggets and stuff like that, how's that gonna benefit them having those guys on the court? So I think yes, it's a play just to get James Harden and see how it works. Like if it works, great. If it doesn't, everyone's gonna laugh at you. So me personally, I don't think it's gonna be a great fit because I just don't. James Harden isn't that same guy anymore. I think he was saying he wants to go back to the old James Harden way of scoring 50 and 10 and 50 and 20 to go to Houston. But then all of a sudden, he wants to be a facilitator and he wants to help the Clippers win. So I'm not really too sure what James Harden we're going to get. We saw in his debut, they lost, in his debut, he lost. So it's going to take some time to bed in. But I don't really have any faith in the Clippers because, bro, we've been talking basketball for how long? And it's always been, if the Clippers do this, they're going to win a chip. And that's been 4 years now.
Maybe it's this, that, and all that kind of.
So I'm not going to start believing them in 2023, that they're going to win. So I think it's going to be a one and done with James Harden, and he'll find the next place to move to, probably be the Phoenix Suns if he can get there.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I think my biggest issue, I think there's two things and they're kind of interlinked because I don't think there'll be a great defensive team.
Yeah.
Because as you mentioned before, I think Paul George is still
of course,
an elite defender, but I think Kawhi is not I think when Kawhi decides he wants to, he can step it up. He just doesn't able to do it for a long period of time. Yeah, he doesn't have enough. I think James Harden, in the post, he's a good defender. I think he's an underrated post defender. But on the perimeter, I think he can be kind of lazy. And I think Westbrook as well. I think Westbrook is a very great disruptor, but he's 35. He doesn't have the lateral quickness. I think because of the defense and stuff like that, then offensively, as much stars as you want to have, at the end of the day, there's only one ball.
One ball, yeah.
And Paul George was talking about the reason he thinks it's going to work is because of the whole IQ play, so you can run the same thing and you can get different results and all that kind of stuff, which is fine. But the issue is my bigger issue isn't Westbrook playing off ball, it's James Harden playing off ball, because one is I think Westbrook has gained so much respect of being on the Clippers that he's still going to be the one to run point. And I think he's done a very, very good if you're just talking about the art of playmaking for the Clippers, I think he's been elite, to the point whereas he's still on James Harden's level in terms of playmaking. So you're going to then turn James Harden into more of the shooters that I would think anyways. But the thing is, how many people are you going to do that for? And then when you don't have these guys, Kawhi is going to play 33 plus minutes. Paul George will play the same 33 plus minutes. Russ will play 33 plus minutes. James Harden will play 33 plus minutes. What are your so I'm going to go and get the stats up, and I'm going to just look on how many minutes the bench played. Because first of all, so Plumlee only played 10 minutes. Highland only played 22 minutes. Powell only played 22 minutes. And Tucker only played 11 minutes, which you can think is fine now, but then the thing is when Terrence Mann then comes back as well. He's going to come and get his minutes. So I just don't know how the rotation are going to work. And because of pride, you're going to start all four of them. But very quickly, 4 or 5 minutes into the game, you're going to have to pull one of them out so you can actually get the most out of everyone. So I'm just skeptical on how the rotation is going to work.
That's where you have to have, obviously, everyone respects Ty Lue, and sometimes you got to be honest. And this is why you have to respect what the Golden States and how they run as an organization. Because at first, yes, the inkling was that CP3 was going to start, but then it just didn't make sense because you'd always seen that the Golden State's issues when you took Steph out the game, they didn't have a great ball handler or a general on the floor. So they've told Chris Paul, cool, certain periods, maybe in the fourth quarter, you might start with that, starting unit. But from quarter 1 to quarter 3, you're going to come off the bench. And what allows the Golden State Warriors to do is have for 48 minutes, you're going to have 3 generals that can ball handle on the court. You're going to have Steph, Draymond, and CP3 at any given time. And we've seen what CP3 can do with a second unit and younger players in terms of what he did at OKC. And right about now, it's flourishing for the Golden State Warriors. And what the Clippers will need to do is make that executive decision and say, okay, cool, either James Harden or Westbrook is going to have to basically control the second unit. And for me, if I was doing that, I'll have James Harden running the second unit because I think the way he plays will suit running an offense for the second unit. He wants to score. He wants to dribble. He can get other people into play. And I think it's better having Westbrook with Paul George and Kawhi as the energy guy within like the first 3 quarters. And then the 4 quarters, you can have them all as a running unit with Zubac.
And that's why as I said before, I think Westbrook has done such a great job for the Clippers that I think it would be kind of disrespectful to try and convince Westbrook to come on the bench. But then at the same time, as I said, I don't care how it ended. James Harden played at such an all-star level last year during the regular season, at least.
Yeah.
How do you then ask someone like that to, because he, believe it or not, he has more pride than Westbrook. And we've seen it before. Like, obviously, people talk about Westbrook sulking coming off the bench and blah, blah, blah. I've never seen a guy who seemed happier as a superstar to go from superstar to off the bench. He seemed as happy as he could look doing it. James Harden, we've seen the way he's acted in Brooklyn. We've seen the way he's acted in Philly. He said it in his pre-conference that how Doc Rivers was holding him back and he felt like he could have given more. And even though Doc Rivers is saying some BS about James Harden is the reason or part of the reason he's doing TV right now, because I've seen a lot of Doc Rivers without James Harden to know that James Harden is the reason you're doing TV right now.
He's doing a lot of 3-1 leads, that's why.
Yeah, but then I also don't believe James Harden has been put on such a leash that he's now saying he's not a system player, he is the system. So it'll be interesting to see how this works. I think they will need to win a bunch of games, because when they start losing games, then that's when all that conversation of off the bench, this and all that kind of stuff. And people are going to point and say Rush should be the one to come off the bench because he's done it before. But not, I don't think he would take it too kindly. I think he would understand, especially Paul George and stuff, take it to him. But I do feel like the morale of the Clippers would just like zoom even more and stuff, because the Clippers went out to get Russ as free agent and the returns, like Harden is just here because he had the opportunity to be here and stuff. So,
and like you said, bro, like Russ has built up so much like cachet within the Clippers. It would be bad for the Clippers just to say, do you know what, cool, we've brought in someone else that we might think might be more useful, and then we're going to put you on the bench. I think James has to kind of just understand where he is at this present time in his career. And like people have too much ego and they think like coming off the bench is something bad. But if he knows, okay, cool, like literally, I don't think the Clippers will be able to pay him next season anyway. So he might as well be on the second unit and ball out where he can go to, I don't know, another organization, get a max contract and be that guy you want to be. So I think him being on the second unit is going to be good. Like we saw what the second unit did last season for the Clippers. They had a great second unit. If you have him as the general and the main bucket getter, and he's got someone else like Terrence Mann and all these guys to help him, I think it's going to be useful, because at the end of the day, every good team needs a good second unit. If you don't have a good second unit, the stars can get a 20-point lead, but once they're out of the game, that 20-point lead is now a 5-point.
And I think my biggest issue, and I don't know if I'm missing someone here, I think my last biggest issue is when you then look after the starting five, I think Highland, after he left Denver, has become a respectable guard. I think Kawhi is a respectable guard. And I think Terrence Mann is a respectable guard as well. I don't think outside the starting five, they have that many respectable forwards. Like, you've got PJ Tucker, but PJ Tucker, obviously, he's like 52. He's like 52, and obviously, his defense, he won't give you much on offense and stuff. But then, Plumlee, I mean...
like you said,
when you got to struggle against the two teams,
and bro, like you just said there, I didn't even think about that. So when it comes to crunch times, one of them's gonna sit out anyway, because they're gonna play PJ Tucker because he's the defensive energy guy. So when you're playing a Phoenix Sun, people think that PJ's KD stopper, so they're gonna play PJ Tucker to stop him. So they're gonna go with the big three, whoever they're gonna choose, PJ Tucker and Zubac, just for size. So at some point, one of them is gonna have to be on the bench anyway, and it's not gonna start probably the fourth quarters, because PJ Tucker needs to start. And I don't know anyone that's gonna want to play, unless you're Golden State that don't have a big man. You're gonna play a small unit. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. We'll be interested to see what happens with the Clippers. Obviously, just staying in LA because they dropped another game yesterday, and I watched the fourth quarter of that game
Yeah.
against the Heat, and the Lakers are 3-4 at the moment. Now,
Mhm.
obviously, there's no reason to hit the panic button just
Mhm.
yet, but actually, there is reason to hit the panic button because through these 7 games,
Mhm.
I feel like, and I'm someone who's always very optimistic about my Lakers and LeBron and stuff like that. Like, I'll be
Yeah.
like, yeah, you know what, conference finals, we're going to make the finals. I know it's early, and I hope I'm wrong, but I feel like I've seen enough from these 7 games to know the Lakers are not winning no championship this year, and it's very very sad to see. And I think two of the biggest reasons is one, something that's happened in LeBron's whole career is
Mhm.
for some reason players join LeBron and they don't know how to shoot anymore. And I feel like
Too much
it's
pressure. Too much
yeah,
pressure.
I think there's that pressure. And two is LeBron when he's off the court, the standards have dropped dramatically. Now,
Facts.
obviously, I'm not gonna blame AD because I think AD has played well this year. I think defensively, in my eyes, he's still the best defender in the league, or out of everyone I watch consistently, he's still the most elite defender I've ever seen and stuff. But I just don't think he has the ability to carry a team. And as I said, it's not his fault. I just feel like when LeBron is off the floor,
Mm.
whatever he does is just not impactful enough.
Yeah.
Even if he decides to give you like some, I don't know, it's like LeBron giving you 15 points when he's on seems more impactful than when LeBron AD gives you 30 points when he's there.
Yeah.
I can't explain it. And as I said, this is not a slant. AD, I think Darvingham had the excuse of Westbrook last year when people said, you know what, whatever you do, you can't win with Russ and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I think this season, and Lakers fans have been getting on to him ever since Russ has been traded. And I think he's under trouble again. It's going to start again because your rotations are just like people just keep saying, like, what the fuck is
Mm.
this? Him and this free guard lineup and all that kind of stuff. Austin Reeves, even though he's played a bit better lately, he's like, since he got that new contract,
Money
it's like,
talks, man.
he went back to the player he was projected to be. Like he
Yeah.
was just overachieving last season. D'Lo,
It's
I'm
D'Lo,
sure
bro.
fans are saying they'll be surprised if he makes it to the end of the season and stuff like that. So obviously the Lakers are nowhere as bad as they were started last season because they started last season 2-10 and they won 3 games, which is already better in it. But I've
Yeah.
seen what like Denver are doing. Like Jokic, how do you stop him? As we mentioned before the thing started, what Luka is doing,
Mm.
Golden State, as funny as everyone was seeing them coming into the season, Steph Curry is balling out of his mind, and
Yep.
he seems to still have the same impact. Anthony Edwards, I'm seeing him get a lot of good shots, and I think deservingly so. I picked him over LaMelo when they were first drafted in
Same.
terms of who I liked better. And people are saying that he's gonna. I don't know if they can sustain this, but
Mm.
Rudy Gobert is back to being an elite. Well, back to his elite defensive prowess as well. And people are saying Edwards could be the best player in the league. So when I'm looking at all these things going on, and I'm
Mm.
saying you're relying on by the time the playoffs come around, he's going to be 39, and
Bro.
Phoenix will still need to get Bradley Beal and Devin Booker back. It's just like I, I just don't see it. I just don't see where the championship is coming from.
And bro, that's why you see me. That's why when I tell you and you man laugh, I'm a Lakers Warriors fan or LA's Warriors fan.
No, that's
That's
just painful.
do you know why? Because it's like I've always supported the Lakers, yeah, and I just love Golden State as an organization and what they do. But I've just seen how the Lakers have been as an organization, and we all love LeBron. But if LeBron's your best player at 39, and then when he's out of the game, this the guy that's meant to take the mantelpiece from him doesn't deliver. And the team that they've built, you look at the team they've built, and you're thinking, what have you even built here? Like, there's nothing. You take away LeBron and AD from that team, it's a bunch of scrubs. Like,
I'm gonna go look at that team now.
it's a bunch of scrubs. Whereas you see Golden State, yeah, they've still got Steph, Clay, and Draymond, yeah. Then they was able to add Wiggins. They was able to draft Kaminga. They've got Moody. They've got CP3. They've got something that can continue, and
Yeah.
they've just made the right trades and just built the right team. Like everyone was laughing at Golden State when they traded Jordan Poole for CP3, but they needed an adult to run the second unit. Because, bro, I've seen Jordan Poole do some dumb things in the games. Yeah? I'm like, bro, the guy's down 20. He's doing an alley off the backboard for Carl Kuzma. Like, it makes sense. There was another
Yeah.
one where he was dribbling. He could have went for a layup. He started walking back to the 3-point line.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And he got
I'm
blocked by
also thinking,
Porzingis. Like,
yeah.
bro, like so. When
I'm looking at the
with
Lakers' saving grace is Rui Hachimura
bro,
because
even
he's the
that,
one that, like,
he was meant to be the guy, and the Wizards traded him. Like, make that make sense. So it's like,
yeah, man.
what are the Lakers doing here? Like, bro, I don't even know if the Lakers team's going to be a playing because OKC, the way they're moving with that young unit, and they're
Yeah.
playing well without
Yeah, has been good as well.
Jay Gilchrist Alexander, my guy, bro. I don't think they can even beat them in the playing game, bro. Yes, you're gonna have LeBron, but even that one-off game, yeah. But I'm just saying, like, I just think, bro, yes, it was.
I think OKC will have a chance in a one-off game, but I think I'll give the Lakers this. Obviously, we saw what they did in the playoffs last year. I think the way they were able to take out Memphis, who were the third seed.
But Memphis do a lot of talking, though. Remember, Memphis do a lot of yapping. They ain't really cheating. But my thing's like,
and they beat Golden State as well. But so I think when playoffs come, I think there's always a level that even at his old age, that LeBron can still impact. So I don't know if but even the fact we're having these conversations, it's just not good enough for where the Lakers should be. And the way I see the Lakers are a bit, not that I'm comparing them to Chelsea, but I've said it before, like, the reason why it's not real spooky for Chelsea right now is because of the Champions League we won in 21. It's giving us a bit of breathing room, and I think that is the same situation with, if the Lakers didn't win that ring they won in 2020, I think you could be looking at them a bit worse than you look at the Clippers, because it's just been like a lot of years of wasting what's left of LeBron's prime and things like that. And as I said, and I think the biggest issue, I'm not even going to say it's AD, because I said AD has played really well. I just think the biggest issue might be the front office and what Darwin Ham is doing, because to not be able to sustain any type of lead when LeBron comes off, like.
But then, do you think that's Ham though, or as we always said, AD doesn't have the dog in him, because when AD won the chip here, his trajectory was up here. Everyone's like, everyone was like, Giannis can't catch him, and right about now, Giannis has surpassed him in terms of being a leader of his team, being that guy of his team, and AD just doesn't have that hunger to be like, okay, cool, I want to take the mantle and be that guy.
I would have agreed, but the thing is that I've seen what AD is doing this season, and even when he's, because as I said, especially on the defensive end, he's as elite as anyone in the NBA, and I think he's still putting up numbers offensively, and he's still scoring. It's just, I don't know what it is. The impact just isn't coming through.
That's what I'm trying to say, though. That's why in basketball they say not every point is equal. Like the same 3-pointer that Steph Curry's gonna hit is not the same 3-pointer that CP3 is gonna hit, because we know the threes that Steph is gonna hit, they're game changers. That's a run of like, okay, cool, turnover three, turnover three. Now they're up 9. Whereas CP3s might just be a regular 3 where it doesn't mean nothing at the beginning of the game. So like, each points are not equal. So like you said LeBron can have 15 points, but the way he gets them and when he gets them, they seem more valuable than KD than AD's 30. Like, he might be getting these points here, but it's like, when you're already down 15, like it don't mean anything. Like, when you're up or when you're at the same, your level, okay, cool. Now you increase your play and allow to go up 15, where those points are going to be relevant. And I think KD hasn't kind of maturated in terms of where we all expect him to be at this period of time. We thought by the time LeBron's 39, it's AD's team and LeBron's there riding his coattails in a sense. But LeBron is still Captain America at 39. That's crazy, bro.
Crazy. Yeah. Now we're going to see how the rest of the NBA continues to unfold. It's just, it's a sad reality for me to have accepted defeat this early. And I said, I hope I'm wrong, because like, who doesn't want to see LeBron get number 5?
Of course.
But it's just, the NBA is just different. And as I said, I think, and the biggest thing for me is, I just don't know how a team can stop Jokic at the moment. He's just literally unstoppable, especially when I think playoff comes, because a man that has no weakness offensively, can pass, he can dribble for his size, he can do like, his biggest weakness is slashing to the rim. But then why do you need that? And I think Aaron Gordon, he seems to have taken up a bit of a level as well. So, well, it's interesting to see. Obviously, we're going to discuss more NBA as the season goes on and cover more teams, but that is all we do have time for today. As I said, thank you for tuning in and listening to the dynamic duo of
Come
Shaq and
on.
Kobe. Hopefully, we'll try and get more of the cast on again next week. We're going to be consistent again going forward because it looks like all the unforeseen circumstances have cleared. So we are back.
We're
We are
back. We're
back.
back, baby.
So follow us on all social media platforms. I'm going to be back on TikTok as from, well, this is probably going on Wednesday. So I should be back on TikTok already from that point. If I'm not, then it's not possible because I will be back. No excuses. So I'll be back on TikTok. We're going to be back on YouTube. So follow us on TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter. As it's been at the bottom, all episode outbounds_UK. And thanks for listening. Until next time, have a good week.